Oh, I never thought I'd feel this way. I never thought I'd find a place that feels like home. Feels like home. Oh, the nights I see will stay. All I feel is love. It feels like home. Take me to a new dimension. Take me to a new dimension.
Running back to my old life, but it leaves it burning. Speaking tongues in my head, yeah, that's the way you want it. She called me baby, you're not wasting time. But how could I let her go? Don't you know I might adore you? I'm gonna make the time move slower. We could do whatever, yeah, sun's out, make the clouds move over. We can do whatever, yeah. I'm gonna make the time move slower. We can do whatever, yeah. Sun's out, make the clouds move over. We can do whatever. We can do whatever, yeah. Do whatever, yeah. Do whatever, yeah. Do whatever we could do. Tick tock, we alone now, and my thoughts are frozen, yeah. Seeing pictures in slow-mo, in a weightless motion. She called me crazy and I'm wasting easy, don't leave me now. Yeah, for the sky on a diamond. I'm gonna make the time move slower.
Okay, check. Are you
We're good here, right? Check, check, check. Okay.
Up all night by myself, trying to think of ways to you. Your voice stuck in my brain, we never got to see it through. And I know I feel more pain if we're speaking truth. Cause when the daylight comes I still lose, So will I feel it again? I just don't know. And I'm hoping I'll find a way to let go. So if you love me, how could you leave me so low? So will I feel it again? I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. Cause when the daylight comes I still lose, So will I feel it again? I just don't know. And I'm hoping I'll find a way to let go. So if you love me, how could you leave me so low? So will I feel it again? I just don't know. I just don't know. Looking back at our time, hoping that we did it right. And give me any reason to call you up late at night. And we know it's for the best, I won't put up a fight. Cause when the daylight comes I still lose, So will I feel it again? I just don't know. And I'm hoping I'll find a way to let go. So if you love me, how could you leave me so low? So will I feel it again? I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. Cause when the daylight comes I still lose, So will I feel it again? I just don't know. And I'm hoping I'll find a way to let go. So if you love me, how could you leave me so low? So will I feel it again? I just don't know. I just don't know.
forever. All this rap about you long gone, it don't matter. Ride or die, that's been the deal. The light of your vodka disappear. But if you don't play that for me, I'm out of it, I'm out of it. I lick my gun and then I'm done. I'm out of it, I'm out of it. Need a moment to tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need a no man. Tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need a no man.
Say I'm good-hearted, but I'm just getting started. Got my eyes on the target. No, no. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. To give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Broke all the cages, no, I won't sit and take it. No, no. They left me for dead, I guess I'll never learn. Every time I break, there's just more pain to burn. They'll never, never, never learn. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty.
party, come move around like fresh brush when the school is out, when the booze is up, when the sun is down. Enjoy the ride, got some pillows in the Chevy. Slide a dolly, low, hitting heavy. Take your time, let me know when you're ready. Couple months I've been messing with this steady. Open for plans tonight. Lost in the afterglow. Oh, girl, your love for me keeps calling me, so I'm calling you. Love, give me love to fire. I long for your company. Oh, girl, your love for me is a part of me, my biology. It won't be over till the fat lady sings. Oh, we all trip cause me and you, we got a thing. My sunshine state, hair curly like a string. Just a big ol' ooh, smile, that's about all you gotta bring. So enjoy the ride, got some pillows in the Chevy. Like a darling, low in the heavy. Take your time, let me know when you're ready. Couple months I've been messing with this steady. Open for plans tonight. Lost in the afterglow. Oh, girl,
That's why I wore it. I wore it to the last one too, and I was like, oh, there's a connection.
What's cool too is it's
I got this at East Denver.
Are we ready to roll? And this guy works fine.
Is this on good? Okay. Do you need to make an announcement or anything before?
Hold on one second.
It's because you stopped the dance party.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me? All right. Hey guys, I'm holding a mic even though you can't hear any amplification. That's for our friends online. And so, welcome to our second official At Nerd. We're really excited for our speaker today. It's Mr. Trevor Ward, and he has, yes, let's give him a quick hand. In fact, if you do it a little louder, the people who are still sitting at their desks will try one more time. Trevor Ward, come on in. That's my announcement there.
All right, wonderful. What's up, guys? I'm glad to be here. Apparently, they're short on talent, so they invite.
He's like, all right, we've now moved back in time about
Yeah,
10
we just portaled.
minutes. We just portaled.
Yes.
You have entered. Well,
We are now in an alternate universe. Your capacity to understand all things blockchain just increased.
okay, we're good.
We good?
All right.
Okay.
Start from the beginning.
Now that we have portaled, we're ready. Anyway, my tagline, world's most exotic accountant, that was my LinkedIn tagline for a while, kind of as a joke, because I've had a very, yes, I'm a CPA, but I'm a very non-traditional CPA. And my wife hates that name. She hates it. And her reasoning is that if you replace the X with an R, it gets very not safe for work very quick. So she's like, people are going to think you have like an OnlyFans account or something like that. So don't make the mistake. That is not why I'm here today. And today, we are talking about blockchain, the solution to a broken financial system. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably like, what is this nerdy accountant going to teach me about blockchain, Web3, crypto? And so I wanted to introduce myself to give you a little more context for what I'm talking about today. And in telling my story, kind of talk about experience I've had that has led me to be in this space of blockchain and crypto. So first things first, this is me and my family, my wife Brooke, and we have a little 14-month-old daughter named Sloan. They're my whole world, so I can't not share that. Nothing to do with crypto or blockchain. In fact, when I met my business partners, we went to dinner, and it was like a high-stakes dinner. They're kind of evaluating me, trying to see, hey, are we going to work together? And they turned to my wife, Brooke, and said, Brooke, what do you think of crypto? And she's like, without skipping a beat, she's like, I don't know, it's like Cole's Cash to me. So it was one of those where I had to like grab her leg under the table, and I'm like, don't say that. But anyway, she's amazing. She's probably really glad I'm here speaking, because she's like, yeah, go get it all out so you're not telling me about all of this stuff. So you'll see here on the left side, I put a 99 cents only stores logo. I started my career at Ernst & Young doing public accounting. I was an auditor, really exciting. And I showed up all starry-eyed, thinking they were going to roll out the red carpet, working in downtown LA. And one of the first things I get sent to do is inventory counts at the 99 cent store. So about a dozen times or so, I'm going to the sketchiest parts of LA at 10 o'clock at night and counting little trinkets at the 99 cent store. And I realized two things. One, I did not want to be an auditor for very long. It was not my life's passion. And two, I had this thought of, like, this is really stupid. I am here because there's this public company that has one little line item on its financial statements, inventory, but because they have this siloed database, they need an independent auditor to go and verify that they have, rubber chickens, 100 rubber chickens, and say, yep, they've got it. Without realizing it then, I would find out later that blockchain can solve this problem, this siloed database problem. From there, I went to corporate foreign exchange called GPS Capital Markets. We helped big companies move money around the world. And again, we were one of the best at it, right? And I realized there are so many inefficiencies with this system. For example, it is near impossible getting money out of India because of capital controls. And then there are other things like as simple as, hey, I've got my company in Europe, I want to send 50 million euros back to the US, and it should be easy, right? Sometimes they'd say, hey, I need it there tomorrow, and it's like, sorry, can't do it, because either Europe has a holiday or the US has a holiday, and then there's the 3 to 5 day like cutoff time. Oh, and you're gonna have to pay a ridiculous fee to send this money. It was just a nightmare. And coincidentally, that is where I discovered Bitcoin. My boss at the time, he told me to read the Bitcoin Standard, and I did. And it instantly just blew my mind. I was like, hey, this is a solution to the cross-border payment problem. And then from there, I was like, you know what? So few people understand finance and money. So I want to become a financial advisor to teach people about this stuff. Had a brief stint doing that, and it was awesome. But again, realized, you know what, I just feel like in some ways, I can help people save money. I can help them invest, and I help them be smart. But we're all plugged into sort of this matrix of the macroeconomic environment. And I felt like I can help you do all of this, but I can't help you escape from our current financial system. And again, as I was doing that, it caused me to take a closer look at digital assets, at DeFi, and realize, wow, like this is an alternative to some of the broken systems that we use today. And then lastly, I just put some Bitcoin tokens there. What I do now is I have a company called Multisig Media, where we educate accounting and finance professionals on crypto and digital assets. So, for example, where Nerd does a lot of the development, helping them build the product. Our company basically teaches accounting and finance professionals how do you account for all this stuff on the back end? How do you run finances when you have multi-sig wallets instead of bank accounts, right? So that's what I do now. And so as I was thinking about what's the most valuable thing that I can give all of you today? And I think the answer is I know a lot about traditional finance, financial services. I also know a lot about digital assets. I think in order to understand the value of blockchain and digital assets, you have to understand traditional finance. You have to understand traditional money, and you'll realize why there's so much value in these new systems that maybe you're helping build. I think a lot of us are helping build. So in this today, we're answering why blockchain, right? And my goal here is to sort of refocus us, and I want everyone here to ask the question, like, why am I working on this? Why am I doing this, right? What problems are we trying to solve? So first things first, we have the database dilemma, is what I like to call it. Our life is full of databases, right? Data by, don't know. I think databases is probably the right way to frame that. So every transaction and interaction that almost every transaction takes place on a database. So for example, money, it's not like there's this vault in the bank and they have a little cubby that says Spencer's Cash on it. And they just have that sitting there, and then when you come and deposit your money, they come and deliver the cash to you. All it is an entry in the bank's massive database, their giant ledger that says Spencer has, X amount of money in the savings account. Your house, right? This is a pretty crappy database, but your county clerk office has a piece of paper, a title that says Cameo owns her house, right? That's the database. Stock. You don't actually own a stock certificate. We used to do that. But what you own is the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation has a database that says this person owns this stock. So the issue with today's databases is that we require a lot of trust in the people that own them, right? Typically, for example, going back to the bank, you trust JP Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon to run that database and to be honest, right? And we'll talk a little bit about this in a minute, but maybe it's Silvergate Bank. You trust them to run the database efficiently. And so I love this quote. This is from Matt Levine from his recent crypto story. He says, "There are banks you can trust to hold your money for you and places where you can't trust the rule of law to regulate them. There are governments you can't trust not to seize your money from the banks or falsify election results or change the property registry and take your house. There are social media companies you can't trust not to freeze your account arbitrarily. Most people in the US, most days, live in a high-trust world where it's easy and reasonable to trust that the intermediaries who run the databases that shape our lives will behave properly, but not everyone everywhere lives like that." And so he really highlights the problem with this trust problem that we have. And I put a bunch of, these are all real headlines from the past, I don't know, call it 20 years. You see Enron up there. You see Lehman. You see, I think, a few like money laundering instances where banks or massive financial institutions laundered money for drug cartels, things like that. The other issue is composability, right? And in other words, these databases typically don't talk to each other, right? So my wife and I bought a house last year, and in that process, if you've ever bought a house, you know it's like the craziest process. Like, there's so many documents. You have to provide your personal ID, you have to provide your credit score, you have to provide all of the information on like your W-2s, your investments, you name it, right? So what if we just had a system, maybe say a public blockchain, that you could keep all of this information on, and they could all talk to each other, rather than having to go get information from everyone and send them over to each other. And the funniest one, in my opinion, is, I didn't learn this until recently. There is something called a title attorney, where the attorney will actually go to your county clerk's office, go to the, the filing cabinet and say, hey, we need to make sure that Trevor owns this house before we can give him a mortgage. So all of that is because we have these siloed databases that don't talk to each other. So blockchain solves a lot of these issues. And the way I like to think of it is there's several simultaneous revolutions. The ones I really want to focus on today are money, financial services, and if we have time, the internet. By the way, what time are we ending at? What? Oh boy. Okay. Okay. Just give me a sign when I've got. So we'll go through this relatively quickly here, but most people don't understand money. I think we think it's a $100 bill. It's fiat currency that we've all, I mean, that's the only thing that we know. But if you look here, this is sort of a rundown of the history of money. For thousands of years, we had a barter system where, you know, if I had cows and someone else had wheat, we would say, hey, let's make a trade. The issue with that is we both coincidentally need, you would need cows and I would need wheat. Otherwise, like, why are we even doing a deal? So then we started creating this store of value and a unit of exchange. Cowrie shells were used for money. The most interesting one to me is this wampum beads. So when the American settlers started coming over, they realized that the native tribes used these beads on strings, and the number of beads on the string would indicate how much money that was worth. And at first they were like, well, what is this? This is just beads. But eventually they ended up using it because they're like, this is the only way that we can trade with the native tribes. And I love this quote by Mises. He's an economist, basically explaining that money is more of a social construct where we have to agree, like, yes, this thing is a store of value. This is one of my favorite charts. You've maybe seen it before, but it just shows the steady decline of the dollar. So USD purchasing price has fallen very significantly ever since the dollar was created. You can see here in 1913, $1 could buy 30 Hershey's chocolate bars, right? And then over here, and it's probably even worse now, this goes to 2020, you get one McDonald's coffee. And then as a quick illustration of inflation, I like to think of it this way. So imagine that you're having poker night. You invite some of your friends over, everyone buys in for $250. You put your money in a jar, in a pot, and then everyone gets chips, and one chip is worth $1. Pretty simple, right? Everyone gets 250 chips. The chips obviously don't have any intrinsic value, it's just plastic. And so you guys start playing poker, there's no chips added or removed, and the game goes like that. What if your smug SOB of a friend decides, well, he's like, I'm not very good at poker, so I'm gonna start stealing chips out of the box here and just throwing them into the game. So at the end of the game, he's added 250 chips. So now there's 1,250 chips and only $1,000 in the pot still. So you're like, well, what do we do, right? How are we gonna solve this? So chips were added, but money wasn't added to the jar. So now your chips are worth 80 cents. So because we do 1,000 divided by 1,250 chips, every chip's worth 80 cents. So in this example, the pot represents things that of real value, stuff that we buy, right? Food, housing, cars, you name it. And the chips represent fiat money, right? So inflation, all it is you're increasing the money supply, but you're not actually increasing the things with value. And currently, we are breaking records, but not in a good way. This is a chart of US consumer inflation in May reached its highest level in more than 4 decades. And you see there we're at 8.6%. Here's the breakdown of everything that's gone up. Gasoline up 48.7. And you don't need to be an economist to realize this. You go to fill up your gas and you just know, like, wow, this is expensive. You go buy groceries, wow, this is expensive. You get your power bill. And so Bitcoin is certainly one potential solution to this problem. And at least that's what Satoshi created it for. And in his white paper, he specifically said it's an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party. And possibly more importantly, is he created a new type of database, right? He presented a solution to the database problem that was blockchains, right? You could have this ledger that isn't controlled by any one central authority. And something I like to point out here is I don't think it was a coincidence that the Bitcoin white paper was launched literally months after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, right? This was the direct response to the broken financial system. We'll kind of go through this quickly here, but I love this chart here explaining what a good store of value is, right? And it compares Bitcoin, gold, and fiat. And I would say that most notably, fiat is not scarce, right? We've learned that over the past couple of years, that essentially we can just print money out of thin air. And the problem with that is essentially we're just adding poker chips to the table, but we're not increasing the value of goods with real value. So that's the evolution of money, right? Really quick, I'm going to take you through financial services. So you guys all heard about Silicon Valley Bank and some of the ensuing banking crises. If you're still kind of wondering, like, what even happened there? Long story short, bank deposits went berserk. They increased pretty rapidly during COVID because we printed all this money. More money in the system means more bank deposits. So banks were really happy, and interest rates were super low. So they all bought these low interest rate yield products that were long duration products. I mean, anywhere from 10 to 20 years. And then the central bank started increasing interest rates, which left the banks with these really, I mean, basically investments that are getting, 0.25%, where other products would yield something like 4 or 5. And so, and then the other part of this is we're now living in a world where banking is all on an app. It's all on your phone, right? So this happened, I mean, I say at the speed of Twitter, because all it took was a few prominent VCs to say, hey, we think Silvergate Bank, or sorry, not Silvergate, Silicon Valley Bank might be underwater here, so withdraw your capital, and they did very quickly. And I love this line from Anthony Pompliano. He says, "It is impossible for banks, companies, and individuals to plan their life when there is constant central bank intervention." This just talks a little bit more about banks being insolvent. Wall Street Journal article headline, "Dozens of banks may have risks similar to Silicon Valley Bank, economists find." And this is getting into some technical jargon that I won't dive into now, but basically just showing that a lot of banks have a crazy amount of unrealized losses. And then, yeah, lots of losses in bank deposits as well. And as a response, this is a pretty shocking chart to me, is all of this, when the Fed realized, hey, we're at this really breaking inflation records, they started reversing course and saying, you know what, maybe we should raise interest rates to try to tamper down inflation. It's called quantitative tightening. All the quantitative tightening we did was erased, or 2/3 of the quantitative tightening we did was erased in a matter of 2 weeks. So basically we just printed a bunch more money to solve the problem. It's kind of like, hey, I'm behind on my mortgage payments, so I'm gonna go get another mortgage to try to pay it off, and it's just this downward spiral. And so I'm not suggesting that DeFi, Bitcoin, and crypto are the only solutions to these problems, but they certainly pose an opportunity. And for example, DeFi, you can't really have a Silicon Valley Bank because everything is on chain. It's an open public ledger, so you can see exactly how much money is in the protocol, right? If someone defaults, essentially the collateral that you locked up to be able to borrow USDC or whatever, it goes to the party that it's due. You can kind of see the rest of the things on the chart, right? But it's open to everyone. Markets are always open. There's no sign-up process where you have to give them all of your information and your firstborn child to be able to open an account or whatever. And another thing worth mentioning is 1.7 billion people are unbanked around the world, right? So, but I don't know the specific stat. I know a lot of those people have mobile phones, right? And an internet connection, and that's all you need to be able to transact these days. You can also talk about remittances, right? Around the world, $630 billion are spent in remittances. So essentially just sending money cross-border. I won't go through this example, and then I don't think we have time, but there's also an internet revolution happening, right? Where I'll just show you this slide here, but Web3 essentially Web 1 was this world of open source protocols. Everything's decentralized, but it was pretty limited. It was read only, right? There wasn't a whole lot you could do. I think we all remember the 1990s. You'd fire up the dial-up, and it was like super cool if you could like go on AOL Instant Messenger and send a message or send an email. Web 2, we start seeing these sort of walled gardens, siloed, centralized services where, you know, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, they sort of own this world. And the issue with that is that means they create the rules. And now with Web 3, we're going back to the sort of Web 1 world, the decentralized open protocols, and it's the read, write, own web. So essentially we created this world where we can now all have ownership in what we're building. I'm going to skip through these last few slides here. You can tell I came over-prepared today. But just as a few closing remarks, we're just scratching the surface here, right? I strongly encourage you guys to go learn about our traditional financial system, learn about central banks, learn about the history of money, right? Learn about how banking works, fractional reserve banking. And then, with that lens, go and learn about Bitcoin and DeFi and Ethereum, and some of the things that are being built for our next financial system. With that, thank you guys very much. You can find me, I have a newsletter that I write every other week, sort of on these similar topics, called Triple Entry. There's a link, and this is my LinkedIn, where I post quite a bit. And thank you guys for showing up and listening to me babble on for 30 minutes.
Give him a big round of applause. Come on, a little more for him. That's it. And if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, do. He just always is spitting kind of awesome insights. Very
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you to everybody who was online. And next month we'll be at Cryptopia instead of here for At Nerd. And then we'll be back with At Nerd in June.
Awesome.
All right,
If you guys have questions, we didn't do Q&A, so feel free to come ask me questions,
He'll be
or
here.
just,
No, we
I want to
let him
meet
leave
you.
the building.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Oh, his bet was to get people's attention. I don't think he actually, I personally don't think he actually believes, because the likelihood of that is just so, I'm gonna take this off so not everyone's, the likelihood of that is, yeah,